right now. Pittsburgh's best sports show is about to begin. Call us or tweet us. We've got things to talk about on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome inside the Fan Cave. This is the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. You can reach out and call us at 412-575-2600. Hope you joined us after the Steelers game today. Chris Hoke and I were on the air. We took your calls. If you didn't get through then, please call now, and we'd love to hear from you. You can also hit me up on Twitter at KDPomp. I'll try to read some of those as I go. But, of course, the big news today was the Steelers doing another week of winning while everyone else in the division lost. Now they set their sights on Cincinnati, which was a loser today on the road at Green Bay. And so, you know, Cincinnati's, their defense continues to struggle. We have a lot to talk about there, but, of course, the big news of the day in college football was James Franklin, who was fired. A little bit surprising that it happened now. I thought it was going to happen at some point, maybe at the end of the season. I didn't expect it to happen so quickly. But when you lose back-to-back games to a 20-point underdog, as they did against UCLA, as they did yesterday at home against Northwestern. So I want to talk about that, talk about Pitt, and how about the great job that Pat Narduzzi did in putting in a true freshman when a lot of people thought that might be risky. Well, he had seen enough of him in practice to understand that Mason Heinschel was certainly going to be the guy who was going to get an opportunity. At some point, he got a lot earlier than most had expected, but Heinschel has been outstanding. And he led them to a win down at Florida State, and not an easy place to play. So we have a lot to talk about. Want to hear from you at 412-575-2600. Call us, share your opinions right here on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. We will be right back. All right, welcome back. This is our Xfinity tweet of the night, and this is what happens when you move on from a head coach. You can see that a lot of guys have decommitted from Penn State, including Keemon Spell, who's an outstanding player here. And I'll tell you something, there's going to be more of that as that goes on. I think that I counted 5 today who were up in the top 50 in the country who have committed to Penn State, now have decommitted. And so that means whoever comes in here next will probably get the same amount of people coming in. There are going to be guys coming and going, especially in this NIL and transfer portal era. And the bottom line is that's what happens when you change gears on a coach. But there's a long list of potential head coach candidates. If you would like to give us who you think might be the guy, let us know at 412-575-2600. Who is most likely to be the next head coach for Penn State? This is our Penn West University KDKA.com Connect question of the night. And here are your choices, at least for this exercise. It's Curt Cignetti, Urban Meyer, Matt Rule, or Lane Kiffin. I'm a big Lane Kiffin fan, and I think he may be willing to move on, even though he's done a good job down there at Mississippi State. I think, or Ole Miss, I'm sorry. He's had success. Matt Rule's a guy who has ties to the current Penn State AD. Urban Meyer has been out for a while, had a disaster down in Jacksonville, but you know what he did in college football with Florida and at Ohio State. And Curt Cignetti's having a great time at Indiana. They just beat Oregon yesterday. They beat them by 10 on the road, and that's a good win for them. And they put a lot of money into their team, and they got a long way last year, and they're going to be a team to compete with, obviously, this year. And Penn State has Ohio State and Indiana down the road back-to-back games. And I believe Iowa preceding all of that. So that's a tough 3-game stretch for whoever takes over. And it's going to be Terry Smith for now. But after that, man, the expectations are high. If you go there, you better compete quickly and try to win a championship. Which of those 4 would you go with at this point? And if you have someone else, let me know what that name would be. 412-575-2600. Let's go to Robert in Dallas, Texas, who has a thought, I think, on Penn State. Hello, Robert. How are you?
Hey, Bob, how's it going?
Good, what's up?
I've been a lifelong Penn State fan, and I kind of disagree with you on Franklin. I mean, he did bring the program back from where it was, but I'd rather have Bugs Bunny as the head coach instead of James Franklin. He was an abject failure. They've never won a big game.
Well, Robert,
every year.
Let me just interrupt you real quick and ask you this. Didn't you think last year there were big games in the playoff?
Those were big games, but he still lost when they needed to win.
Well, if you want to win a national championship, yes, you're right. But they got a couple of wins, and you can debate whether or not the teams they beat were really qualified to be where they were ranked in that system. But, hey, they were big wins. They got to where they had to go, and then they lost at the end. But, yeah, I get what you're saying. The expectations are extremely high there. He created a lot of that by winning as much as they did. However, in the big games that matter the most, to your point, I think they were 17-26 all time against AP top 25 teams. If you're going to be an elite program, you got to win those games. If you're going to be an elite program in the Big Ten, you have to beat Ohio State, you have to beat Michigan. He had problems with all of that, and so the bottom line is he didn't do enough in those bigger games, to use your quote, the bigger games. But again, I think last year they won some big games along the way to get to where they had to go. But that's just the nature of doing business in college football. It comes with a very hefty buyout, and we'll see what happens next. James Franklin, if he wants to go someplace quickly, he'll get a job quickly. There are a lot of ACC teams that would love to have him. There are a lot of teams around the country. I remember when Brian Kelly left Notre Dame to go to LSU. That was, a lot of people say, well, you're leaving Notre Dame. Now, there were some people who wanted him out for sure, but LSU gets him. You may see Lane Kiffin do something like that, go from a big-time program to another big-time or a bigger-time program. It depends on what they, what they see as their needs. And certainly Matt Rule is going to be somebody on their list just because of the ties he has to the AD up there. Back to the lines we go. It's Nick in Collier Township. Hey, Nick, how are you?
Hey, Bob. Two quick questions for you. One, I wondered if the Steelers defense did anything different with the erotic blitzes they did Ramsey tonight. And then two, on the Penn State stuff, I'll just throw out this name, Pittsburgh legend Tom Bradley. Maybe they'll bring the king home. I'll hang up and listen.
I don't think that's going to happen. As much respect as I have for Tom Bradley, they're just going to look to, they got to come up with a big name who's currently involved in college football. I think that's where this program is right now. That's what they need to figure out who it's going to be. Again, the timing of this to me was strange. I thought it would be at the end of the year because, quite frankly, when you change midstream like this, I don't know how much you can put on Terry Smith or this program. You might get an adrenaline boost in the next few weeks, but still. They lost Drew Aller, and that's a tough loss for them. Their starting quarterback's out for the year now, and I wonder what that means for his draft status moving forward. But it was just a terrible day yesterday at Beaver Stadium. Back to the lines we go. It's Dan and Ingram. Hello, Dan. How are you tonight?
I'm fine. I have a kudos for the Steelers today for finally winning a game that they were supposed to win without any dramatics. But the reason I called was I have a question about the rules difference between the pros and college on the review procedure.
All right. Well, college football, they make quick decisions up there, and they do it from above, more so than they do. Although now the NFL has the eye in the sky, so to speak, and they can reach down to the official of a game and say something that maybe the official did not see and change the call, make them pick up a flag. They can do a lot of that stuff. There are a lot of different rules specifically you may be talking about, but generally speaking, replay is pretty prevalent in both. It's just how they utilize it that is a little bit different. Back to Robert's question about exotic blitzing. It wasn't so much that I thought today with the Steelers, although Ramsey has been used differently in that regard, and he was playing slot corner, outside corner, safety. He does a lot of different things, and they move him around, which is a good thing. He's making plays, unlike Minkah Fitzpatrick, who over the last couple of years did not make as many plays as he did when he first came here. But I think it's mostly just the upfront pressure. Their defensive line, Derek Harmon is bringing a lot of energy to them. Cam Hayward, very good day today. I think Keanu Benton has gotten better in the last few weeks. To go with their outside linebackers who are very much on the hunt. When they stop the run, as they did today, that makes it very difficult on any quarterback, especially somebody as young as Dylan Gabriel, or as I should say, inexperienced as Dylan Gabriel. He's 24 years old, or maybe even 25. He's been 6 years into college, but the point is he hadn't seen that at all in the pro level, and he saw it today because the run game completely shut down. Quinshon Judkins did not have good yardage today. I think 36 yards on 12 or 13 carries, whatever the case may be. They did a good job there. So that's where it all starts for the Pittsburgh Steelers. 412-575-2600. I'd like to hear what some of you out there think about Pitt and going with Mason Heinschel. This guy has come out of nowhere, really, even though he was third on the depth chart. And you would have thought it'd be difficult to get him into a game knowing that you had Eli Holstein as the NIL guy on the team making over $1 million, and then you had Cade Bell's chosen quarterback, I believe, Marco Gonzalez, who he had before, brought him in here as the backup, Now all of a sudden, Mason Heinschel is on that roster, and apparently he just worked his way through practice. And for those of you who think practice can be minimized, it's not. I mean, they put a lot of emphasis on practice. If you're Aaron Rodgers, for example, in a practice and you're not doing what he has to do and expects from you, he may not throw you the ball in the game. And I think if you show up in practice, coaches take note and then they become more willing to utilize you. I was a little surprised that he went to him as quickly as he did. But he did after that Louisville loss. And boy, Mason Heinschel has been outstanding in 2 wins, especially the one at Florida State. That's not an easy place to play. He got it done, and now they go to Syracuse with a lot of confidence and a little bit of a swagger that they were missing in those previous games. We'll take a break. 412-575-2600 is the number to call. This is the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. Join us for the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown tonight after the late news on KDKA.
Tunnel at the end of the game and booed the players and booed the coach all the way into the tunnel. That's uncalled for. You know, the guy did a lot for the school. He's moving on. You know, I just felt bad about that.
I'm not one of those who would have done that. I appreciate what people do. I understand how expectations go high, and with it becomes the frustration that fans may have. But looking back now, I think people should look back at the entire time and say it was a successful 12 years or 11 years, whatever it was, for James Franklin and what he did for the university. I really I believe that. Now, again, when you get to that level, you expect more things. Winning creates more expectation, and the expectation was to win those bigger games in conference in particular. He had not done it. In fact, had not done it against top 25 ranked teams. And if you don't do enough of that at that program, you might remember last year Ohio State, how close were they to firing Ryan Day? You heard those reports everywhere. They got it together. After they lost to Michigan, they went on a roll and won a national championship. Okay, it happens that quickly. There have been calls for Pat Narduzzi in the past, as earlier this year when they lose to Louisville and West Virginia. People were getting antsy about that. It's a tough business, no question, but you just got to keep grinding and find ways to do it. He'll get another job, and it'll be a big job. And in the meantime, Penn State needs to find someone who can get him over the hump to the next level. Pete in Mount Lebanon, you're up next. Go ahead, Pete.
Hey, Bob. Question: what do you think about? Well, thanks for having me on first. But what do you think about? Do you think we ever see James Franklin again in the state of Pennsylvania? Maybe over here at Pitt. Thanks. I'll let.
No, I would rule that out probably. I think, first of all, if Narduzzi turns this season around and this kid Heinschel does what he has consistently, they're going to have a nice situation on their hands, or maybe not. Because you got to re-recruit him. They're going to come, teams will come after him, say, hey, you want to come? We have more NIL money than Pitt has. It's a really tough gig today to be a head coach of major college football. Again, this is our KDK.com Connect poll. Who is most likely to be the next head coach of Penn State? These are the choices, 3 up. There could be others. Signetti, Meyer, Rule, or Kiffin. And looks like the leading candidate is Urban Meyer, believe it or not. He has 36%. I thought Matt Rule was one of those guys that not a lot of people are going to put out there, but Penn State has a connection to him. Kurt Signetti's been doing a great job at Indiana, and Lane Kiffin has had success where he's gone. So we'll see. This is something that will take some time, but in the meantime, it's Terry Smith, who was the head coach at Gateway for all those years, and he's been, James Franklin's right-hand man in recruiting for the entire time he's been up there. So turbulent word, that is college football. It changes all the time. Success is expected, and if you don't do it the way they wanted you to do it, then all of a sudden changes are made. It's going to do it for us. Thank you for joining us. Tune in tonight. It'll be around midnight after the late news. The #1 Cochran Sports Showdown. Brian Batko, Ray Fittipaldi, and Andrew Filipponi join me. We hope you do too. Lots to get into tonight after the late news on KDK. But that's going to do it for me. Thanks for joining us. We'll do it again tomorrow night and every night. We're on the air 7 nights a week right here, so call anytime with your opinions on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. Have a good night and a good week.